It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Same here. Much awaited conversation.
Yes, looking forward for sure.
So, Fatah, tell me a little bit about your journey as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career as a pharmacist. I
Okay.
have two bachelor's degrees, one in chemistry and one in pharmacy, and I worked in pharmaceutical sales. So my first job was in pharmaceutical sales, and I was best sales achiever for 3 consecutive years in the Gulf area. And still, I wasn't feeling I am fulfilled or I'm making any impact because I always felt that there was always a doctor between me and the patients. So I wasn't feeling I'm making any difference in anyone's life. And growing up, I had something as a teenager. I used to say I want to be an effective member in the society without
Right.
knowing what that meant. So after 7 years in pharmaceutical sales, I decided that I want to step out to take some time to reflect on what is it really that I want to do next in my life. And that happened at the same time that I got my two kids back to back. Now they are 13 and 14 years old. So after my son was born, who was the second, my daughter is the first, I said, I'll take my maternity leave and just stop and think what is it I really want and what like really sparks joy in me. And that's when I realized that I am so like excited to be in a professional development place because at pharmaceuticals, I used to work at Sanofi, which is a French multinational company. They used to send us a lot to professional development courses. And in that setting, I was like so excited, so interested to learn and to develop. So I was like, I would like to be a trainer. And that's how I started shifting, or stepping out of my career. So I got my two certifications, one CIPD in Learning and Development and L&D, and another certificate in Human Resources, because I wanted anything to add to my CV. That is because all my CV is related to pharmaceuticals and sales. I wanted something to back me up. It's not like she's passionate or she loves doing this. I want some science. So that's where my career shift started because after these two certifications, I landed my first freelance job at Qatar University. I was based in Qatar, now I'm based in Dubai. So at Qatar University, I was training HR employees. And that was one of the scariest thing I've done because I never worked in HR. I was training HR employees. So I was trained to be a trainer. So I know how to manage the classroom if you want. I know how to engage people. But to train HR, that was so scary. Thankfully, I did really good. Like an evaluation came, they gave me another course at Qatar University, and then the VP for admin affairs saw me and he said, we're reshuffling job descriptions at Qatar University. We have a consultant working with us, and we are looking for some part. Absolutely. I want anything, as I said, to get me out of pharmaceuticals and yeah, so what I did is I got the job as a part-timer in job descriptions, and I never knew that there's something in career services because I graduated from two universities and I never had a career center where they help students and groom them to be prepared to the workplace. And that where I felt I'm making an impact because I was helping students groom them, prepare them, put them in front of employers. And what that was so meaningful that I felt like, okay, this is impactful. So I was an employer outreach consultant and I helped students at Qatar University first and then moved to another American university, Carnegie Mellon University, worked there for 6 years. And that's where I got my coaching certification. I started coaching students and alumni, and I got my master's as well in positive psychology and coaching psychology. So that was the shift, in higher education. I think it's a longer answer than you expected, but I just want to give you a bit of context.
No, I think it's interesting to hear, and I also feel when you're speaking about your two children back to back, and then looking for a different career. I think a lot of times I hear that women feel very demotivated. Now, what's next? Very confused, not knowing where to go. I think you really had the courage to make a decision and shift gears
Yeah.
in terms of a next career move. I think it was very different
Yeah.
and very bold of you to make that decision.
Thank you.
Welcome. And tell me, Fateh, now so you got into another degree or positive psychology and coaching psychology. And you had already done your coaching certification and you were
Exactly.
coaching people.
Yes.
So practically doing what you were doing and then getting into a university degree, what was your new learning on your practice through that degree?
Yeah. And that's a very, very, thank you for this question because there's a very interesting story there. One of the patterns I have, is whenever I feel I'm reaching like a dead end, something, I always step out. I always step out. And one of the things that got me into positive psychology, to be honest, I had no idea what positive psychology meant, or there's something called positive psychology. I know about psychology from Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, but never knew about positive psychology. And what got me there is because for a certain period in my life, I felt that I was questioning happiness a lot. So, and I have a beautiful relationship with God. I feel like God has, curated or tailored my life in the best possible way. So I'm always generally very grateful. Gratitude is a big part of who I am. And at the same time, I felt I was not happy. So I felt I'm a hypocrite between my relationship between me and God. Like, how can I be saying, thank you, God, for giving me this opportunities and all of that, yet I'm telling him I'm not happy. So I started questioning everyone. I went into spirituality, into religion, into different areas, asking this question, how can a person be this grateful yet not happy? And no one gave me an answer until one day, I believe in Rumi, who says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. One day, I was in an event and I was leaving the event and I was waiting for my car at the valet service. I remember exactly how it happened. So while I was waiting, I was scrolling over my phone and I got like a course, a notification saying the science of happiness from edX, which is like Udemy or LinkedIn Learning. And the professors are from UC Berkeley, and you would understand the science of happiness. And to me, that was like, wow, because I'm a science person, I believe in science, and I'm really interested to understand happiness. Because as I said, I was really struggling internally. How can I be not happy and this grateful? And that's how I went into positive psychology, because in that course, I understood that I was looking at happiness from a very tiny angle. And happiness is a framework. It's a very big framework that Martin Seligman, and the father of positive psychology, and some researchers coined down to the PERMA well-being model or happiness model. And A, which is the achievement, PERMA is an acronym. And A, which is the last letter in that acronym, just stands for achievement. So I was an achiever. I was achieving. I was doing well. I had a good salary, good income. I was doing really well. So that was only the aspect that I had, but I didn't have the PER and the, which is the positive emotions, the engagement. E stands for engagement, which is the state of flow. What am I so engaged with that I lose track of time? R for relationships, and then M is the meaning. And the game changer for me was the relationships and the meaning. I found my meaning through coaching. I understood why I'm doing what I'm doing, why sent me to this world, and the relationships, because I was surrounding myself with like toxic relationships that were draining me. And I started cleaning, spring cleaning. And that's what made me a happier person, because now I understand this full thing.
And I think interesting to hear about the happiness framework you're speaking about. So tell me, from someone who has learned it through a formal education and experiencing it now, as you
Yeah,
said, you had gratitude but not happiness, meaning
exactly.
you are now experiencing it too. How would you define happiness for somebody who has a similar situation that they feel
Nice.
maybe they lack gratitude or not? but they don't feel happy. How
Yeah.
do you define happiness?
So there are many different ways we can look at it. The way I look at it is I look at this holistic frame, which is the PERMA model, And one thing I want to iterate and stress on is that happiness is an inside job. Like it's in our control and we can create that. So once I know, for example, if I want to go into deeper into the sperma well-being model, so P is for positive emotions. So if I know that, for example, going to the gym increases my positive state, if I'm walking, if I'm spending time with a friend, that increases my state, then I have to do more of that so I'll be happy. I cannot sit down and say, I'm not happy and I'm not doing anything to increase my positive states. So that's the first thing. Second, I encourage people to look at their engagement. What are they so fully engaged with?
Stay with positive emotions. You're saying
Yes,
that people should really recognize what brings positive emotion, and sometimes it could be as little thing as walking, bringing
exactly.
the positive emotion. So, how one should, by the way, recognize that these are. What is a way for me that I can recognize that these activities or these things bring in positive emotion?
That's a beautiful question. And I think the answer to that is when we sit down and reflect. The only way we can recognize what would give me that positive state. You
So,
know?
I mean, like
Yeah.
I say, reflection on action.
Yes.
What actions that I'm taking that are bringing positive emotions, so reflecting on
Yes.
those actions.
Exactly. So let's say we'll take my invitation to that person is let's take a week, for example, in their life and sit down and record, day, how did it go and what increased that positive state. They could realize that there would be like some patterns going on, and then they could realize that it is exercise, it is talking to a friend, it's dancing, it's watching a sitcom,
So it could
and the
be
power of
anything,
reflection, right?
right?
I think it's as coaches we know the importance of taking this time to sit back and reflect.
Right. So number one is really identifying what brings in positive emotion for me. What do I
Yeah,
do? What am I doing which can bring in more of it? And how do I
right.
continue to take those actions so that I
Yeah,
can continue to feel positive emotions, right?
yeah,
Good. So
yeah.
that's a P of
Positive
the PERMA
state.
model,
Yeah,
positive
yeah,
emotion.
yeah. Absolutely. So reflection would definitely help people understand what would that be and what would that look like and how can I increase that positive state. Right now, for the E, the engagement, which is the state of flow. And again, sit down and reflect on what am I so fully engaged with that I lose track of time. So if I want to increase my happiness, I need to look at what would that activity or exercise or anything that would make me in a state of flow. So maybe for some people who play the piano, it's when they play piano, they are in a state of flow. Or when they're swimming, they are in a state of flow. I realized for myself, for example, when I'm hiking, like I realized because I would be in nature, I can hike over and like hours and wouldn't be bothered or thinking like, oh my God, that's a long hike or it's just because I'm posing, maybe taking a photo of this tree or whatever nature there is, or so that state of flow has been proven to increase the happiness. So you ask me how to define happiness. It's again, I cannot say do this and then you will be happy. It's this whole thing.
And for engagement, he said state of flow. I think it can also be developed, I feel.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you said swimming, but there was a time, sometime, that swimming you did not know. But I think over a period of time, by engaging into an activity that makes you really brings in positive emotion, you can, once you're competent, you can start to feel the flow, right? Just by doing it over a period of time. So,
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, also it is about experiencing different things in life and then identifying
Yes.
what do I do.
Exactly.
Sorry, go
Or
ahead. Yeah.
how else would you know if you haven't yeah, absolutely. I agree
Yeah,
fully with
it's
you.
really, yeah, it's really
Yeah.
about experiencing and open for experiencing and then recognizing the positive emotions through that engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next one.
The next one
PERMA
is the
model.
R, which was a game changer, and the relationships. And there's this Harvard study, which is the longest study. Some people talk about it in the sense of they were studying what impacts longevity and impacts people's life. And some others were talking about happiness, what increases happiness for people. So whatever you look at, they realize that what impacts really happiness and longevity and makes us live longer is the quality of our relationships. And now it doesn't surprise me because now I know how we really are hardwired for connection. We are social beings. We cannot live alone. And I always use the example of Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. Have you watched that classical
I
movie?
haven't, but I have heard from somebody about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on Netflix now, so you can go and watch it. So he was stranded on an island, and he found a volleyball, and its brand was Wilson. So he opened, like, made some sticks and put it in the head, and he called it Wilson his friend, and he started talking to Wilson because really we cannot live alone. In Arabic, there's a saying that you cannot even go to heaven without people. If heaven had no people, no one would go to, or something. That's how I'm trying to translate it. So we are hardwired for connection. We really need that connection. So the quality of relationships will impact our happiness 100%. And that's when I said I started spring cleaning, and I'm removing those relationships around me that were not adding. On the contrary, it was deducting and draining and taking things from me. So I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And then complaining that I'm not happy. So that's with the relationships.
So I'm also noticing that positive emotions and engagement is really in your control, is
Yeah.
by you, in you. But relationships, you really have to look around as well. You have to see it's a contribution, right? It's people involved in it. And I think that requires more courage.
Yes, absolutely. And spot on,
Yeah.
because it again, people do not leave these relationships because they will be afraid that they will be alone. No one, loneliness is the epidemic of the century. No one wants to be alone. So I fully agree with you, and at the same time I fully believe that it's in our control. It takes courage, yes. It needs boldness, yes. And it's our life. You being in the driver's seat versus you being in the passenger seat in your own life. And it's not easy because sometimes these toxic relationships are from the closest, like from family, the closest family, maybe a mom who is toxic, or a dad who is toxic, or some relatives or cousins, or so to break these, it's not as easy as we think. It's easier said than done. And at the same time, if I want to maintain my sanity, now I know that this boundary has to be set. And that's, if you want to call me courageous, I did lots of cleaning there because, again, I decided to be a passenger, a driver in my own, because I was a passenger in my life.
And I think why do I also say courage is sometimes you just can't do a cleaning. You can't just escape from certain relationships. But how do you be in a relationship and while you're a driver, it's still okay to lose control sometimes because you still want to maintain relationship and bring in positivity in your life. I think that's a big question for one to reflect.
I hope you agree with me that we always have a choice. And choosing not to choose is still a choice. So if I want to stay in this relationship, then it's my choice. So it gives me internally some power that it's like, not poor me, I'm staying in this relationship. It's I'm deciding to stay in this relationship. So then this will impact my happiness because it's a choice that I took. This inner power gave me some strength that I took the decision that I want to stay despite it's toxic, for example. I maybe don't necessarily recommend that I recommend really setting clear boundaries and
Mm.
emotional boundaries, because over and over again, I took a big sigh because I
Mm.
saw it, and I'm sure in your work, I hope you agree with me, that toxic relationships leads to issues.
True. Yeah.
So, our mind and body are connected. And if our mind is in a toxic environment, my body will start showing all the symptoms.
You're right.
So, yeah, choosing our sanity, our health, I think.
And it has really a larger impact, not just the health, but I think health is, of course, for yourself, but also your work, your professional life,
Everything.
your relationship with others. All of that get impacted because you're carrying over those emotions. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's a big piece of happiness, I think. And also, when you say boundaries, I realize for me, I feel boundaries not escaping, but also boundaries just having certain do's and don'ts, certain negotiables and certain non negotiables,
exactly.
and just being clear on that.
Exactly.
Mm.
And beautifully, every human being has a boundary. Like
Mm.
if two people come too close to each other physically,
Mm.
you would like try to push, in the sense.
Mm. Mm.
And that's how it is. Our body cannot accept, because it's like giving our nervous system some signals that there's some danger because this person is coming too close.
Mm.
And that's physically. So imagine emotionally and mentally, there is similar circle around us, but because it's imaginary, it's an imaginary circle, not a physical circle,
Mm.
people do not know how to set that.
Mm.
And with all the executives I coach, surprisingly, and
Mm.
I'm hoping you agree with me on that, is that they don't know how to say no. Even
Mm.
a CEO doesn't know how to say no because of the fear of being alone or of the fear of losing others. Or
Yeah.
so this is something that we coach on
Mm.
always, on how to
Mm.
be assertive and to set clear boundaries. And as you said, the negotiables are not negotiable, the do's and don'ts.
And also the fear of rejection sometimes from a leader. That what if I'm rejected as a leader? What if
Yeah.
my followers do not follow me? Great. And then we have got
The
meaning.
Yeah,
Got
the
meaning, right?
meaning. Yeah, wow. This is, John Maxwell says there are two important days in our life, the day we are born and the day we find out why. And that was a game changer personally for me when I understood my why. And I understood my why through coaching and positive psychology. And I felt like, okay, now I know why I'm here. Because we keep on thinking, like, we have so many things. We have, as I said, status, financials are good. We're good. But there's something missing. What's that? And that's the meaning. And like all millionaires and billionaires, I believe those who didn't get the meaning
Mm.
are struggling right now because they have everything and they don't have that meaning.
Mm.
So finding out the meaning, and in coaching we have lots of exercises that we do to
Right.
help our clients do that,
Right.
because positive psychology has been built, on the foundation, if you
Mm.
want,
Mm.
that every individual wants to
Mm.
live and lead a meaningful and fulfilled life.
Right.
So we reach a certain stage in our life, we want to, why am I going to office every day? Why
Mm.
am I doing this? And
Mm.
people start questioning, but then with
Mm.
how fast life is, I think they rarely sit with themselves and put a zoom or a
Mm.
light on this question, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Mm.
Because when
Mm.
they find that, that would
Mm.
be a game changer for them too. What do you think?
Right. So I think meaning uh, takes a lot of time to get to the right meaning. And that needs a lot of time from people in the sense that they really need to sit and zoom in and understand what is the larger purpose. And it could be not just one purpose. I feel that I can have multiple purposes. So one could align with one purpose and the other could align with one purpose. Sometimes I find people finding it difficult to find the meaning of life or the purpose of life. And I believe there could be multiple purposes, and recognizing that different act aligns to a different meaning and just living with it. And I think that's when it gets people to even love and like what they do, right? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I agree. And at the same time, I believe people, when they're struggling to find the meaning, as you mentioned beautifully, they're thinking that it has to be something big.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a simple thing. It doesn't have to be majestic. And so it's like you are searching for something and you're missing all the signals or the lights that you're seeing along the way, because you're thinking in your head that it has to be something big.
Right.
So yes, I agree with you. It could be several meanings, and it doesn't have to be like something massive. It is a bigger purpose, yes, but it doesn't have to be
Right. I mean, a larger purpose could be achieved by a very small act, and
exactly.
it
That's
does not have to be
beautifully put.
something big.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last one for A.
A is the achievements, which is what would you do? Your achievements, your financials, your achievements, basically. And that's, as I said, what I had. I was best sales achiever. I was having status. I was having a good salary, everything. But I didn't have all the rest. So yeah. And after COVID, they added like an H acronym. So PERMA H, which stands for health. They said without health, people also will not be happy.
True, true.
Yeah, yeah,
And I also feel that I think the word achievement in this framework is not just about materialistic achievement, but also about to achieve happiness itself. You really look at positive emotions, engagement, relationships, and meaning, and then finally you get to the
you get
achievement of
that.
happiness.
Exactly.
And I
Yes.
think then also I look at health as an outcome
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you made it not an acronym, you made it like an equation. P
Yeah.
plus E plus R equals A, and then H is an outcome. It's the, yeah, I love that. That's a new way to look at it.
I mean, I
Yeah,
like to create equations, though,
yeah,
so I remember it, and I'm learning in this
yeah,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah. Same here. So yeah, this is the first time someone summarizes it to me this way. So I love that. Thank you.
Thank you to you to explain it so beautifully. So tell me, do you apply this framework in coaching with leaders or coaching with individuals? How do
Yeah.
you apply it? How do you work with this framework?
Yeah. So, what positive psychology taught me is that there are so many positive psychology interventions. And interventions are like research studies that have been made, researched, and published. And there are so many different tangibles, interventions that we can use with our coaching clients. So, one of them, for example, and that's how I practice or I apply this science into practice, which is, for example, the three good things is an exercise, is an intervention that has been researched. And by the way, gratitude as a topic is the most researched topic in positive psychology. Like there are so many, like gratitude for autoimmune disease, gratitude for cardiac patients, gratitude for happiness. So there are so many research papers on gratitude. So the three good things is one of the interventions where participants are asked to name three good things that happened with them during the day for for a week, and to record what was that. And to me, the game changer that I learned through positive psychology was the recommendation or the required thing, other than writing the three good things, is to add the cause for that. Again, the cause gave the participants realization that they are creating that. So, for example, I am grateful for having this conversation with you because we met on LinkedIn. I'm grateful, for example, that I have electricity, for example, because I paid due. I'm grateful that I found a parking space easily because I came in early and I wasn't in a rush. You got my point? So adding that causality, the cause for that, gave people the realization that it's in my hands, it's in my power, it's in my control to do that. Because when my kids were young, I saw the difference that that intervention did personally to me. Because when my kids were young, you know, before putting them to sleep, I always used to say, okay, let's now look at what we are grateful for.
Mm.
And we started, saying we have food on our table, we're grateful, we have like a ceiling above our head, we have a bed, we have clean sheets, we have running tap water. And they started adding their toys,
Mm.
and because it's repetitive, every single day we're doing this,
Mm.
they started doing this mindlessly.
Mm. Mm.
So it's just a repetition without noticing that they are causing that.
Mm.
And just like I always say for people who pray, for example, if you are doing this on a daily basis and you are mindlessly repeating the prayer,
Mm.
it's not as impactful as you are conscious and mindful and intentional about what you are saying.
Right.
So, three good things and the cause is, for example, one of the interventions that
Mm.
I use with my clients
Mm.
so that they can increase their
Mm.
state, their positive states. And I recommend that this is becomes a way of life. So the intervention was for one week because there
Mm.
was a scale that was used to scale it and to research it. But I always say, like, if I sit back and reflect on three good things, there are so many, like I said three good things already.
Mm.
There are
Mm.
so many things, as simple as a parking space,
Mm.
because
And
sometimes we get crazy to
I mean,
find it.
right. I mean, and I also noticed that, I mean, three things per day for 7 days, if you do it, you're already recognizing 21 in a
Exactly.
week.
Exactly.
And moreover, you're saying the causes of them. So you're also recognizing your actions that you're taking. Now, what I, as a person who's doing this exercise, would need to now look at what are those actions that are creating this humbling and grounding experience for me? How do I, over a period of time, continue to do it?
Yes.
So it becomes like a
Exactly.
mindless exercise, mindless way of being.
Yeah. Yeah.
A very, I mean, small exercise, but a powerful exercise, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as you said, if after this one week I looked at my notes,
Hmm.
I can relive these moments.
Hmm.
These 21
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
I can relive them because there's another intervention which is just an alteration of this three good things. It's called the three funny things.
Hmm.
Like three things that made you laugh, for example,
Hmm.
today, and write them down. Again, when you reread them, they will make you laugh.
Right. Right. Right.
Another intervention, which I personally like a lot, and in my research paper I wrote about, which is called the best possible self.
Best possible self. Okay.
And in this intervention, there's like a small script that's saying that imagine that you've achieved all what you wanted to achieve and you've worked hard to get where you want, and now write about what you visualized.
Hmm.
And this intervention was asked like to do the intervention was asking participants to write for 20 minutes
Hmm.
for 4 consecutive days and to report how that impacted their happiness. And
I'm
again,
sorry. I want to go back. I think I lost that. 20 minutes right for
about
20
your
minutes,
best possible self. So
and
you imagine your
hmm.
best possible self and now write about what you have imagined.
Hmm.
And the first day, it was a real struggle for me because 20 minutes is a long time.
Hmm.
So I kept the timer and I was always looking at the stopwatch, like, when will this timer ring? Because like it's a lot. So one of the things that they say, once you write, do not pull your hand off the paper.
Hmm.
Like even if the ideas stop, just write. I don't know what to write. And then they say the ideas will literally flow. And that was something that worked for me as well. Now, the second, third, and fourth day, I literally was not looking at the timer. It was so free flowing, and I felt each day I was fine tuning what I have written the day before by repeating the whole thing from the beginning. It's not like I go visit what I wrote. I start, but in my head, because I'm now visualizing this, I was fine tuning. And we know the power of visualization. And we know, like science has proven, that our brain does not distinguish between reality and imagination.
Hmm.
So, whatever we can imagine, we can achieve.
Hmm.
And this example, I used the research that was done on piano players, where
Okay.
they divided them into two groups. The first group, they gave them the same note to play, but the first group they literally played the piano, and the second group was asked to play the piano in their head. And they were looking at which part of the brain was highlighted when they were physically playing and when they were imagining playing. And they were connected to the functional MRIs, the fMRIs. Then the researchers realized that they couldn't distinguish who did what. It was exactly the same part of the brain highlighted. And then they realized that our brain does not distinguish between reality and imagination. And now athletes, I know a lot of athletes, a lot of highly successful people do this visualization. They visualize themselves playing this pass or this move, and then they achieve that. So this best possible self, and if you go now to my calendar, I don't do it every day for sure for 20 minutes, but on my calendar, like I have 30 minutes blocked every Monday morning, and it's written best possible self. To sit down, take this time to always, once per week, visualize and write about that. So this is something that I personally like. There are so many interventions. One of the interventions is on signature strengths and using strengths and leveraging on people's strengths. I don't know how deep you want us to go there, but there are so many interventions.
True. No, I'm sure these are simple yet very powerful tools. And I think
Exactly.
learning about PERMA just gives you the way of being happy. How could you get to happiness? And I think how do you sustain that happiness? In the next other exercises that you spoke about, three good things and three funny things, and then best self, best possible self. I think so. First, we learn about happiness and how do we sustain that. I think if we can
Yeah.
do these exercises or even one of these exercises could continue and sustain happiness and gratitude in our life. It's not such a big task. Just about 20 minutes, 10 minutes of our time on a daily
Exactly.
basis.
It's just being
So,
intentional about wanting
yeah,
that.
yes, that's what I was about to say. That it's just learning to be intentional and intentionally wanting to achieve what you want to achieve. Father, maybe you can talk about signature
Strengths.
strengths. Also, I think I've been loving all your, and I'm sure our
Thank you.
listeners would love to learn and maybe apply in their lives to improve and bring
Yeah.
in happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. So signature strengths, there's a website, AuthenticHappiness.com,
Okay.
where people can go and create their own profile. It's for free, and they can like find out what are their strengths.
Okay.
So the values and actions. Go
So
ahead.
give me the name of the website again.
It's AuthenticHappiness.com.
Okay. All right.
And
Sorry,
it's
please.
created by Martin Seligman and his other researchers. So the beauty is that your profile will stay there. And each year, for example, you can go and revisit and do this test again. It's for free and see how your strengths changed. Because in positive psychology, I look at this, for example, we believe that every individual, as we believe in coaching, is very resourceful, creative, and whole, right? That's the foundation of coaching. And in positive psychology, we say that every individual is a star. They just need to learn how to shine. So every individual has a strength. So if we leverage on top of this strength, we build a tower. So if this is a strength and we build on top, we build a tower versus starting from here. So that's why we say positive psychology is the study of the science of what's working versus what's not working, studying strengths versus areas to develop. So we look at strengths and we look how can we leverage these strengths. So we ask people so many different questions on if we didn't do this exercise on authentic happiness, there are so many different ways to find our strengths. For example, now I have it in front of me because I use it a lot with my coaching clients. This is one of the strength cards that I got, for example, on Amazon. And there are so many cards. I don't know, the sun is too much in front of me, but each I cannot
Maybe you can read
show.
it for me. One of them you can
So,
read it.
so caring, strategic, analytical, insightful, modest, approachable, empathetic, fair, calm. So these are, for example, strengths that people can find out. And the intervention was to find their strengths and to see how can they leverage on that and to use that strength in a new way. So if I'm, for example, one of my strengths is, let's say, calm. Okay. And I'm calm in certain settings where things are well. How can I use this when things become a bit turbulent? I'm under pressure. How can I maintain that calmness? How can I start using? And we write ways, where people start thinking, okay, I can use this in this way. For example, I'm good in my personal life. How can I get that strength and use it in my professional life? How can I bring that? So finding our strengths is alleviating. It's powerful. I don't know a
Right.
better word, I think, and I always sense it when I do this exercise with my coaching clients or with the participants that I train to be coaches as well. So it's a very interesting exercise.
Right. I mean, first of all, you recognize what your strengths are and then continue to build and leverage on them so that you're not struggling to, it's not that you're working on your negative, you're working on your positive.
Positive.
You're making it, it's like a star and you're shining it, as you said,
Exactly.
right?
Removing the dust or
Yeah.
removing
Yeah.
the soil or the sand on it. Yeah, exactly. And it's very powerful. It's very
Right.
powerful when people, like one of the questions I ask, for example, because you see people's behavior as soon as you got your report. Who, for example, looked at the bottom strengths versus looking at the top strengths?
Right.
And people start laughing because we always look at what's not working, what's
Yeah.
lacking, what am I lacking? How about we look at what we have and we build on that? Because it's a game changer.
Right. See, one may want to look at their areas of development, but I think that could be also on the agenda for us to work on
We
while we
can,
still
yes.
while we still harness the strengths that we have.
Exactly. Yes. We're not saying, and I always say positive psychology is not like ignoring the negatives. It's just how can we build more positives?
So it's like half empty glass of water or half glass of water, right?
Exactly.
So do you call it
Ex-
empty or do you call it half full or half filled? Yeah. Great. I think, Fathan, this conversation with you has been such a wonderful learning experience for me.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much for joining me today on this
Thank you.
conversation. I would like to hear from you. What are the ways people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch?
Absolutely. It was a real pleasure to be with you, Dr. Harris. You're doing a lot to this world and to make it a beautiful place. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. And thank you for having me. So they can reach out, like Bright Fields is the company that I'm building and building it brick by brick. So brightfields.co.uk. I have my personal website, which is fatens.com. On Instagram, it's faten underscore El Ayache. LinkedIn, Faten El Ayache. So I would love to stay connected with and to give me feedback if the audience liked the episode.
Sure, I'm sure they will get in touch. And thank you for making such a difficult topic of positive psychology, which sometimes people really fail to understand. That how do I bring the frameworks in my life so easy for our audience? Thanks once again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.